The plan was to draw down engine and transmission plants and permanently replace them with low-wage battery jobs. We had a different plan, and our plan is winning at GM.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
UAW, like I said, folks, I mean, just a huge announcement from the UAW yesterday on the negotiations with the Big Three. Probably, I mean, genuinely, probably the most consequential announcement, the most consequential win that they've announced so far. And it's a win that was announced despite the fact that not only were the companies saying that this isn't going to happen, you know, they were talking about that on the COLA. They said, COLA, we're never bringing it back. You gave it up, and we're never going to give it back to you. COLA, remember, cost of living adjustment. It is what that does is it basically adjusts your wage for inflation year over year. That way, automatically. That way, the workers are not the only people who take the who bear the risk of inflation, right? The bosses have to bear some of that risk with us under a COLA. And so they were able to win that, and not even just win an emergency COLA formula that'll kick in, you know, if there's 10% inflation or whatever. They were able to win back at Ford the 2009 COLA that they gave up to save the companies from bankruptcy. That is huge, huge news. And the news that they released yesterday is, I think, even bigger than that. And not only were the companies saying that that you're never going to get this just on principle, like, you know, this is not on the table, they were saying that it was not legally possible for them to give the UAW this win, and yet they did it. Let's listen to this announcement from Shawn Fain from his live stream yesterday.
Good afternoon, UAW family. It's happened again. Moments before this broadcast, we have had a major breakthrough that has not only dramatically changed negotiations, but it's going to change the future of our union and the future of our industry. We were about to shut down GM's largest moneymaker in Arlington, Texas. The company knew those members were ready to walk immediately. And just that threat has provided a transformative win. GM has now agreed in writing to place their electric battery manufacturing under our National Master Agreement. We've been told for months that this is impossible. We've been told the EV future must be a race to the bottom. And now we've called their bluff. What this will mean for our membership cannot be understated. The plan was to draw down engine and transmission plants and permanently replace them with low-wage battery jobs. We had a different plan, and our plan is winning at GM.
Look, devil's in the details, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see, you know, what they're able to get, because just, you know, just like the, you know, the parts distribution centers, for a long time, they were on a second tier of employment, even though they were under the national agreement, right? So the assembly plant workers would be making like $30, $35 an hour, while the parts distribution workers were making $20 an hour, okay? So just because they are under the national master agreement does not in and of itself guarantee them all the same wages as the assembly plant workers, but what it does is it brings them and everything in there regarding their employment into the negotiations and onto the table. And that in and of itself is huge, because, and the reason that they were saying legally that they can't do this, it's not legally possible, it would be illegal for me to put this stuff on the table, is because all of these battery plants are joint ventures, or many of them are, not all of them, but many of them are. a joint venture, meaning it is partially owned by GM and partially owned by another company, typically like a foreign auto company or something. And so they're joint ventures. And so they say, look, oh no, it's not just us that own these, it's other people. And so because this is a whole different thing, you can't bring this into the big three negotiations. It's a whole different can of worms, right? It's not the same. We can't put it on the table. And GM just did. It's on the table, and now obviously the UAW is going to be pushing for the same standards at these battery plants that they've got at the other manufacturing plants, and that is going to be a fight in and of itself. But just having these battery plants on the table and being able to negotiate over what happens there is enormous. That is huge, and it is a big step towards actually being able to create a just transition towards electric car manufacturing, electric vehicle manufacturing, instead of, like Shawn Fain said, having the electric vehicle manufacturing only be a fig leaf for a race to the bottom. Because that's what it's been so far. All of these big three automakers, the foreign automakers, they've been creating these battery manufacturing plants, sometimes in the South, but also in the Midwest and in other places, and paying these people pitifully $16 an hour, no pension, bad health care, dangerous working conditions, much more dangerous than a union plant.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Terrible. I mean, literally a race to the bottom is how the battery plants have been used. And so for them to have it on the table is an enormous, enormous thing. And so that happened at GM. Other gains, they were less specific about from Ford and Stellantis, but all of the gains from all of the companies considered, the UAW decided to this week spare all of the big three from any strike expansions to reward them for the behavior at the bargaining table. And so that is, that's a really, just huge, huge news. And so with GM agreeing to this, it is no doubt going to be, there is no doubt going to be the Stellantis and Ford are going to have to fall in line, right? Because GM now is going to be, they're going to be wanting Ford and Stellantis to fall in line on this battery plant issue, because if they don't, then Ford and Stellantis are going to be able to undercut them in as far as labor costs. Which, let's remember, labor costs actually not that big a part of the vehicle. 5% actually of vehicles produced in North America. 5% of the cost that you pay at the lot is to wages, is to compensation for labor. So not really a whole lot, and that's a big reason why, despite the fact that, all of these vehicles that you purchased that were manufactured in Mexico or wherever the hell for, $12 or $30 a day instead of an hour, if you're able to save that much on labor, why is the car not so much cheaper? You pay the same for the car. There are even models of vehicle that it's the same model and they've got multiple manufacturing plants. And so it's the model is produced in America and also in Mexico. The Mexican produced cars are not any cheaper. They're not any cheaper. For one, because labor costs actually not that much of the car is, not much of the cost that you pay at the dealership goes towards labor, but also because they just want to steal all the money that would be going to workers and put it in their pockets, in the pockets of their shareholders. Remember, Shawn Fain told us that more money went to shareholders through dividend payments than to labor over the course of the last contract since 2019, over the last 4 years. That's insane. CEOs at these big three companies, GM, Stellantis, and Ford, are making between 260 and 400 times the median employee. Absolutely unacceptable. And so, I almost fell out of my chair when I heard that. Huge news. And also, incredible drip from Shawn Fain, for those that are only listening.
The Drip Watch is active.
Yeah, the Drip Watch. That's going to be another new segment, Drip Watch, where we talk about labor leaders and how good their drip is. And Shawn Fain's drip was good. For those of you who are just listening, he's wearing a T-shirt that says "Eat the Rich." So that's awesome. Very cool. There was an NBC reporter that was tone policing him on Twitter, saying that, oh, this is inappropriate, people's, livelihoods are at stake, blah, 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 memes are bad, and, whatever, bootlicker is kind
memes
of my
are scary.
response to that. Yeah,
It
memes
hurt
are
my
scary.
feelings.
Oh, no, I'm going to, tweet more about how the memes hurt my feeling than about how, workers are literally being killed in these battery plants. By the big three automakers. Absolutely insane and terrible, and that's kind of the state of play for mainstream journalists, supposed to be speaking truth to power, but they are instead tone policing workers and their leaders. So yeah, really exciting news, and as always, great speech from Shawn Fain. This is how he closed it out.
And I'll tell it to you straight. The billionaires and company executives think us auto workers are just dumb. They think we don't get it. They think we only understand the power of a supervisor yelling at us or an assembly line coming at us. They look at me and they see some redneck from Indiana. They look at you and see somebody they would never have over for dinner or let ride on their yacht or fly on their private jet. They think they know us, but us auto workers know better. We may be foul-mouthed, but we're strategic. We may get fired up, but we're disciplined. And we may get rowdy, but we're organized. Not everything is about pulling out the bazooka. We've been very careful about how we escalate this strike, and we have designed this strategy to increase pressure on the companies, not to hurt them for its own sake, but to move them, to get them to say yes when they want to say no. And today is a perfect example of that.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.